Supreme Court, shock, 9-0. Decisions, redefine gun laws. Owners, stunned. The decision came like a lightning strike across the nation, and gun owners are scrambling to understand what this ruling truly means for their rights, collections, and daily lives. In a unanimous 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court didn't just interpret the Second Amendment, it reshaped it. This is not a minor tweak. This is a seismic shift that changes decades of legal precedent. States that once allowed broad discretion in firearm regulation may now face federal overrides, and owners could find themselves legally exposed for firearms and accessories they've held for years without issue. Imagine waking up tomorrow to find that your legal rifle, your registered handgun, or even your collection of long guns may now be subject to strict federal scrutiny. That is exactly the situation unfolding right now.
Before we go further, if you want to stay ahead of the curve and protect your rights, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This channel will guide you step by step through what this ruling means, how it affects your firearms, and what actions you need to take immediately. Don't scroll past. Your legal safety could depend on this information.
Here's the first shock. The Supreme Court has expanded the interpretation of the Second Amendment to include not just the right to bear arms, but also federally enforceable responsibilities. Previously, ownership was broadly understood: background check compliance, lawful purchase, and basic storage. Now, the court is clear. Your right to own comes with mandatory obligations. Firearms stored in homes without adequate security measures, especially where minors reside, could now trigger serious legal consequences. For example, a father keeping a legally purchased semi-automatic rifle in an unlocked closet could now be at risk under federal law if a minor gains access. That wasn't the case before. Now it is. This ruling explicitly links rights with responsibility, and the consequences for neglect are legally binding. Next, the ruling directly addresses modern firearm accessories. Items like bump stocks, suppressors, and high-capacity magazines are under new scrutiny. Previously, owners believed these items were legal, often citing prior court interpretations or federal leniency, but the court clarified that any modification intended to increase rate of fire, conceal sound, or otherwise alter a weapon's original configuration could fall under restricted enhancement rules. For instance, a collector who purchased a suppressor years ago for lawful hunting purposes may now need to register it differently or face potential federal penalties. The court cited technical references to firearm classification and enhanced operational capability in their decision, establishing a legal framework that could impact millions of existing owners. This is not theoretical. Compliance is mandatory, and ignorance is not a defense.
State laws will now face unprecedented challenges. Consider a state like Texas or Arizona, where previously private firearm sales required minimal documentation. Under this ruling, federal standards may override state discretion, mandating comprehensive background checks, transfer documentation, and verifiable storage procedures. A private sale between two adults, once considered routine, may now trigger legal liability if federal procedures aren't strictly followed. Step by step, this ruling forces gun owners to reassess how they handle every firearm, from acquisition to storage to transfer. The ripple effect is enormous. Gun shops, law enforcement, and private owners are all suddenly under a microscope.
Let's break down what you must do immediately. First, review your collection against the newly clarified federal guidelines. Identify firearms that could now be classified differently, particularly semi-automatics, rifles with certain modifications, and high-capacity magazines. Second, implement or upgrade secure storage measures. This includes lockable safes, trigger locks, and documented secure access protocols. The court emphasized security as part of legal compliance. What was once common sense is now a legal necessity. Third, document all transfers, sales, and modifications, even those that occurred legally in the past. Documentation is your shield against potential federal investigation. Fourth, stay informed using credible sources: official government publications, court summaries, and legal advisories. Social media speculation is dangerous and could mislead you. Compliance is your first defense. Consider realistic scenarios to illustrate the stakes. A homeowner in Florida, for instance, possesses multiple registered rifles and a legally purchased bump stock. Previously, local authorities had no issue as long as ownership was documented. Now, federal scrutiny means the bump stock could be flagged as a restricted enhancement, requiring registration or even surrender, depending on compliance timing. A private seller in Pennsylvania transferring a handgun to a trusted friend must now consider federal transfer protocols. Failure to follow these steps could result in felony charges, even if the transaction seemed lawful before. These are not hypothetical examples. They reflect the immediate, practical consequences of this ruling. The decision also revisits prior landmark cases. The court cited District of Columbia versus Heller, expanding the interpretation of the Second Amendment to explicitly tie rights to responsibilities. Where Heller focused on individual rights, this ruling introduces enforceable obligations at a federal level. This is a philosophical pivot. Your rights are not standalone. They are coupled with duties that are legally binding. Repetition here is crucial. Rights redefined, responsibilities enforced, accessories restricted. Repeat it to yourself. This is the law now. Step-by-step compliance cannot be overstated. Start by inventorying every firearm in your possession. Classify each one: standard rifle, semi-automatic, modified, or accessory enhanced. Secure each according to federal standards: safes, locks, alarms, and limited access. Record ownership details, serial numbers, and purchase dates. For accessories like bump stocks or suppressors, verify registration compliance or take corrective action if needed. When transferring a firearm, whether as a sale, gift, or inheritance, conduct thorough background checks and maintain records. These steps are no longer optional, they are mandatory under federal interpretation. The ruling also has implications for ongoing debates around state sovereignty versus federal oversight. Historically, states could determine how firearms were regulated internally. Now, the court's decision sets a federal baseline that may override state exceptions. This creates legal uniformity, but also potential friction. Gun owners in states with historically permissive laws must now comply with stricter federal rules. Ignorance is no longer an excuse. Legal experts warn that non-compliance could result in fines, confiscation, or even felony charges, depending on the severity of violation. Let's summarize the critical takeaways. The Supreme Court's 9-0 ruling redefines gun ownership across the United States. First, rights are coupled with federally enforceable responsibilities. Second, firearm accessories, including bump stocks and suppressors, face new restrictions. Third, private sales and state-level discretion may now be overridden by federal compliance requirements. Fourth, secure storage, documentation, and responsible transfer are legally mandatory. Repetition helps retention. Rights redefined, responsibilities enforced, accessories restricted. The urgency cannot be overstated. Take immediate action to safeguard your collection, comply with federal standards, and avoid legal exposure. Inventory your firearms, secure them properly, document all ownership and transfers, and stay informed through reliable legal channels. Your awareness and action today are your protection against tomorrow's legal consequences. If this video helped you understand what could be a life-altering legal shift, hit like, subscribe, and share with fellow gun owners. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay compliant. Knowledge isn't just power. It's your best defense in a world where the rules have just changed overnight. The Supreme Court's 9-0 decision is a warning, a guide, and a mandate. Act now before it's too late.